I looked out the front window and I saw this wind blowing and trees snapping. And I said, Mom, run, it's a tornado.
You can literally see the tornado and everything that it was ripping up.
And it happened so quick, so quick. It was amazing. It was amazing. I hope I never see something like this again.
I'm glad we lived through this one, man. I'm glad we lived through this.
Good evening. Is one of the worst storms to ever hit Minneapolis. One person is dead, at least 30 others injured.
And tonight, hundreds, if not thousands, are without a place to call home. And the north side of Minneapolis is under a curfew. Here is what we know so far. Witnesses say the person who died is an adult man who was killed when a tree fell on him. He was inside a vehicle at the time and was said to be visiting from out of town. Authorities say there are at least 30 people injured, 2 critically. The storms caused widespread damage from St. Louis Park to Fridley. Minneapolis Mayor R.T. Rybak has declared a local emergency to help deal with the scope of the storm. If you need a place to stay tonight, the National Guard Armory is open at 1025 Broadway. More on that in a moment. But first, to the damage. The tornado hit hardest in North Minneapolis.
And that is where our Jana Shorter begins our look at the storm's impact. Hi, Jana.
Hey, Rita, we've been out here all afternoon. Just about an hour after the storm hit is when we got here. And literally, you cannot go anywhere in this part of North Minneapolis and not see significant damage. Everywhere you turn, it seems like there's another power line down or a tree on top of a power line down. An entire part of our city tonight is in the dark and in disarray.
All of a sudden just came down.
It didn't even take a minute to completely change the landscape of the city's north side.
The window said pop, pop, and we all just ran to the back of the nail shop and stayed in the little room until it was over. It was only like 40 seconds.
Felt like King Kong was trying to snatch the roof off. The whole building started to shake. Our ears started to pop.
Like a train coming down my block. Like I heard it was, woo, loud. Trees was falling, everything.
At Penn and Broadway, storefronts were shattered, a church rooftop blown blocks away. Within an hour of the storm, it seemed like every North Side resident was in a daze, looking at their neighborhood, the one they know and love, in utter disbelief.
It's the first time I ever seen anything like this over this way anyway.
The enormity of the damage cannot be understated. EMTs had to go to people in need on foot. An entire empty parking lot was filled with ambulance crews. It looked like an ER on wheels. As night fell, with no power and no gas lines, tensions started running high. Reports of looting, of fighting, things that happen perhaps when people look around and see the road back from this will be a long one. In just the last hour, things have really quieted down here in North Minneapolis. It's probably because of that curfew this city said started at 9 o'clock tonight. People here in this area were asking for help from their government tonight. And tomorrow morning, Governor Dayton, Senator Klobuchar, and Representative Keith Ellison plan to be here just before 10 in the morning to take a look on foot at some of this significant storm damage. And it is widespread. And to get more on that, we'll go to Jeffrey DeMars, also on the north side. Jeff?
Yeah, we're on Thomas Avenue, just north of Plymouth Avenue, and this is pretty typical of what you'll see. A tree that's down, this one's since been cleared, but then you'll also see trees on top of homes, and that's pretty typical around here. Every block or two, you'll see a tree on top of a home, or maybe even 2 homes down every block. And you know, we talked to neighbors around here who say they heard the sirens, but they didn't think much of them.
When it hit,
And I'm like, Lord, I ain't never been into damn one of these. And I'm like, Lord, help me.
it hit quickly.
The tornado and everything that it was ripping up. And I ran in the door, closed the door, it snatched the door open and started ripping out everything. You see the building over there? I'm telling you, it was crazy. I never seen nothing like that a day in my life.
The damage is widespread from Plymouth Avenue to the south all the way down to Golden Valley Road to the north and beyond.
My house was shaking, and all I heard was boom, boom, boom. I heard my windows crackling.
Imagine the cracks heard at this home. 2 trees fell on top of it. On the 1500 block of Upton, this is one of the homes that was hardest hit. Neighbors say the owner got out just in time.
There was 5 of us that all came out of this house at the same time, and we all rushed over to this house right away because we saw it was the most affected house, and we were yelling and screaming for people, and then all of a sudden somebody came out and said the gentleman got out just before the tree hit the house.
It was a close call, and the neighborhood is full of them.
It was really horrifying, and there was not any warning. It literally turned gray, started raining, and then the wind came, and it was a mess.
A mess that's already being cleaned up.
Then the police came and they started helping. It's great. It's a great job.
Minneapolis police helped to clear trees from the roads. You can bet there will be a lot of cleanup over the next several days, possibly even weeks. It will also take some time for all of this to sink in.
I'm in a daze. It's not hitting me yet. It's not real. Scary.
Man, I'm glad we lived through this one, man. I'm glad we lived through this. Man. Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a big sense of relief around here, and we talked to neighbors. They're making do with what they have. Of course, there's no electricity. One neighbor here has an RV, so people are going over to his place where they have an RV and a generator running to just sort of get up-to-date information. A lot of people wondering when the electricity is going to be back on. We've seen crews, we've seen some streetlights come on, but it's going to be some time before the electricity gets on here in North Minneapolis. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, our thanks to you, Jeffrey DeMarzan, also Jana Shorel, for those reports.
Seeing video like this is no surprise. The mayor of Minneapolis declared a local emergency. These strong storms knocked down power lines and trees and caused gas leaks.
And getting around is very difficult. In fact, right now, parts of the city are actually off limits. KARE 11's Jeff Olson is live with the latest on that information. Hi, Jeff.
Hi again, guys. We'll check that curfew area in just a moment, but first we would like to show you the crews that were out tonight addressing all those problems that you mentioned. We followed what the mayor called the second responders. This area was divided into 4 zones, and then police and fire crews began making their way slowly through the damage in North Minneapolis. They went door by door, checking on people's well-being, inspecting for gas leaks, and assessing structural problems with houses. The mayor says it gives a look at the current reality and what will be needed to be done over the next few weeks.
Have to make decisions with people about buildings that have been deeply damaged and many of the other issues. So the teams that we have out there are focused, as we've been before, on short-term and long-term. And we just ask people's patience as we move forward.
Since the incident happened this afternoon, we've had our construction services folks along with our housing folks out doing preliminary assessments on the north side. They will be standing down at 9 o'clock this evening, reconvening at our emergency operations training facility tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock with detailed maps and going block by block and doing structural assessments.
Those housing folks will be back out again tomorrow looking at houses and at businesses. Meanwhile, as we mentioned, there is a curfew in place. It's on now through 6 a.m. The area affected is Penn Avenue through Interstate 94 and from Dowling Avenue to Plymouth Avenue. If you don't live in this area, you will not be allowed in tonight. And residents in the affected area are being asked to stay in their homes. Now, if you have someone in your family or a friend who finds himself homeless, as we mentioned, the Armory is open and buses are coming from the 4th Precinct Police Station. We're told that will continue to happen as long as there is a need. And Eric and Rena, before we throw it back to you, there is a telephone number to call too. If you have a question about someone you think may have been involved in this storm, that number is 651-268-8537. Again, on your screen, 651-268-8537. Rena, Eric?
Jeff Olson, thank you very much.
Well, people who need a place to stay tonight are being directed to a family assistance center.
It's set up at the Northeast Armory. KARE 11's Scott Soroka has that part of the story.
The first busload of displaced residents arrived around 7 o'clock at the National Guard Armory. It's a few miles from the heavily damaged north side. City council members, the mayor, and the lieutenant governor were here to try to comfort people who had no other place to go.
When I went outside, my whole back porch was gone. I could see outside through my ceiling living room.
Kanisha Walker and Quanisha Allen are out of their home for at least 2 months. Walker is pregnant. Allen is trying to get her degree. They grabbed some pajamas, some homework, and a couple of non-perishables.
It means a lot that people actually care.
We don't have nothing. Like, we're starting over from scratch with nothing to help us up.
By 8 o'clock, there were close to 100 people here. They're staying in a gym with room for about 450 people. At this point, they may be staying indefinitely.
So we're really taking care of people.
and that's the important goal. It's the #1 goal for us tonight.
Our job is making sure the immediate needs, the sheltering, that there's food for people, that they're in a safe place. We're going to work with the city of Minneapolis to provide physical and mental health services to the folks as well that need it.
This would be a difficult night, and maybe the first of many. Rebuilding will take some time.
We never expected this to happen or nothing like this to happen, so what can we do? Like, we have nothing at all.
And we just got updated numbers from the Red Cross. There are more than 200 people staying here at the Armory this evening. We are told if this place does fill up, there are several other sites that people can go to if there's a need, and they do expect more buses to come in with displaced residents. Eric and Rena.
And if that is updated, we'll of course hit it on KARE11.com. Scott, thank you very much.
Well, the storm that devastated Minneapolis continued moving to the northeast, affecting other metro communities.
And Sven Sundgaard is here now to show us just what this path of destruction managed to do. Sven?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of us who are residents of St. Louis Park or Minneapolis or Fridley and Golden Valley, we're all looking at the path of the storm and saying, wow, that was, you know, a mile only from my place, or I go through there all the time. And even for me personally, this was a block and a half. The path of that tornado is a block and a half from my own home, so definitely close for all of us. Take a look at some of the video we have from Sky 11. Definitely a lot of damage here. You can see roofs off, trees down everywhere, and of course a tree in the city. This is why we're hearing so much about it with this storm. Tornado in the city knocks down a tree. Either way it falls, it's going to land on a house or a car or anything, just because of the density of where we live in a city. So the National Weather Service crews over the next couple of days will go out and determine just how strong this tornado was, where it was on our EF scale, the enhanced Fujita scale, in terms of what the damage is, matching up with wind speeds with this storm, and determine exactly how many tornadoes there were. Probably at least 2 separate ones. The Northeast Metro, Forest Lake, Lindstrom saw definitely separate ones from what we saw through Minneapolis and some of the western suburbs. Wanted to show you the storm reports though quickly here and show you kind of that 2 separate clusters that we saw. One cluster through the western suburbs. Again, the first report was 394 and 100 in St. Louis Park, and then through Golden Valley, Minneapolis, and into Fridley, and then it lifted up from there, and a second storm popped up, Lindstrom, Forest Lake, seeing some funnel clouds and tornado touchdowns there. That one much less in terms of damage and shorter duration. So a much quieter week ahead. That's some good news, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes.
A lot of people looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sven.
One of the first communities hit today, St. Louis Park.
And tonight, that city is allowing most residents to return to their homes. Earlier today, it was a much different scene. The Cedar Trails condominium complex sustained damage to several buildings on the north side of that property. Tonight, residents are being allowed to return to all but 12 of those units. Most of the damage is from fallen trees, many that fell right into people's homes.
That's when I was standing in the bedroom looking at the tree in front of at the window that I had just closed. I was in shock.
The tornado also caused damage to 2 businesses in St. Louis Park, including the Nestle plant. Debris from that plant was strewn up and down the streets, and workers had to be evacuated for a short time because of a natural gas leak. This video was sent in by KARE 11 viewers who caught the storm in St. Louis Park on camera. Viewers have been posting pictures and videos to the KARE 11 Facebook page. You can check them out or upload your own at the very same place. Well, the city of Fridley was another community hit hard by the storm.
Tricia Volpe just returned from there assessing the damage. Hey, Tricia.
Hey, Rena and Eric. Well, the storm system headed northeast and tore through the south end of Fridley this afternoon. Clearly the next stop after devastating North Minneapolis. And you could see damage for many blocks, large trees uprooted by powerful winds. Several houses took a direct hit like this one. The area in Fridley affected most is at least 10 square blocks, mostly homes, but there was significant damage to other buildings and facilities as well. The fence and the stands at the baseball field near Fridley High School were left mangled by the storm. Metal siding ripped right off of this machinery business. The wind so strong it toppled part of a semi. The people who live here spent their day taking in just how much their neighborhood has been changed. They started cleaning immediately, thankful no one was hurt.
And we could just hear this big loud whistle, shh,
and I heard things hitting the house and heard the wind blowing, and I didn't know what was going on. I just said, we're going to the bathroom and sit in the shower. So we sat in the shower, and the sirens were going again, and we could hear the whistle. I mean, the whistle, you'll never ever forget that sound.
Now, after Fridley, the storm system continued northeast. Jason sent us this photo from the Lindstrom area. Jeff B. sent us another image from Forest Lake. And there was reported damage in those areas, Chisago and Washington counties, but mostly trees and power lines down. No reports of injuries. Rena and Eric?
Yeah, powerful stuff. Thank you.
Well, it's time now for a quick break, but still ahead, the budget battle and gay marriage at the state capitol.
We'll have an update on both, but first, more incredible pictures sent in by viewers of today's storms. We'll be right back.
You're looking at more storm images sent in by KARE 11 viewers. We received hundreds of pictures and video today.
Across the river in St. Paul, a historic vote took place overnight. The Minnesota House passed a bill putting a constitutional gay marriage ban on the ballot in 2012. More now from KARE 11's political reporter John Croman.
Protesters kept the chant going outside the House chamber throughout the debate.
Why? Why would you not want to let people be accountable to each other?
You look different, and you go through life, you get treated different.
John Ward said the bullying that he endured for his deformed arm left him determined never to go along with discrimination.
But mostly I remember, I will never, ever allow discrimination to the best of my ability ever again.
The author of the bill, Steve Gottwalk, would not engage in a debate about civil rights or discrimination. He instead stuck with what has been the Republican strategy here, and that is to focus on the public vote.
What are we afraid of? Are we afraid to let Minnesotans discuss this and vote?
This amendment doesn't represent what I went to fight for. This doesn't represent that. Hear that out there? That's the America I fought for, and I'm proud of that.
Iraq war hero John Kriesel, one of 2 Republicans to vote against the bill, summoned the name of Andrew Wilford, a Rosemount soldier killed in Afghanistan in February.
He was gay. You were good enough to fight for your country and give your life, but you were not good enough to marry the person you love. I can't do that.
But backers of the marriage amendment carried the day. Outside, a mix of tears and jeers as opponents pledged to win the next round at the ballot box. At the Capitol, John Croman, KARE 11 News.
In the meantime, it appears more likely the legislature is headed to a special session.
Former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty was set to announce his candidacy tomorrow in Iowa, but he upstaged himself today on YouTube.
I'm Tim Pawlenty, and I'm running for President of the United States. I believe with all my heart that the challenges we face can be overcome. I grew up in...
The announcement was in the form of a more than 2-minute video posted on Pawlenty's YouTube channel, where he tells people it is time for the truth. He calls tomorrow's announcement in Iowa his first campaign stop, and we will carry that live on KARE 11 today at 11.
And because of today's extensive tornado coverage, we will not be airing tonight's Land of 10,000 Stories feature on condos for cars. We will bring you that story later this week.
And once again, our top story, the devastating Sunday storms. A curfew is now in effect for the north side of Minneapolis until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and a shelter has been set up at the National Guard Armory for those with no place to stay tonight.
We're not the only ones dealing with severe weather. There are reports of significant damage in the La Crosse, Wisconsin area, and in Joplin, Missouri, massive devastation. There are reports tonight that at least 24 people are dead after a tornado ripped through the area earlier today. A twister hit a hospital and 2 of the city's fire stations. We have more on the Missouri tornado on KARE11.com.
Amazing. You know, just when you think it's bad here, obviously it can be worse, so we have to be thankful for that. And as I understand, maybe some good weather in our near future.
Finally, for the most of the week, things look good. And the other piece of good news is, I don't know if we have any wood around here. I'm going to say knock on wood, but Memorial Weekend looking spectacular. That's like a nice summer-like weekend, minus severe weather, which unfortunately is part of summer around here sometimes. But yeah, that was a whole line of storms from here all the way down to Missouri. Same line of storms that just raked across Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, and of course Minnesota as well. So just a few showers and thunder showers on Saturday. We're going to take a bit of a break right now. We've got sports coming up from Perk, I understand, and we have some hockey and Twins in that in just a few minutes.
We had to get out of Dodge again, but we looked and we tried to help out a little bit.
We tried to help people,
you know,
both of us together. And man, I'm glad we lived through this one, man. I'm glad we lived through this. Man. Oh, man.
A moment of gratitude captured on camera in the midst of today's devastation. And thank you again to all of our viewers who sent in both videos and photos today. Please continue to do so in the coming days through the cleanup. You can email them to share@KARE11.com.
And one final reminder that a curfew is in effect for sections of North Minneapolis until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Please join us tomorrow morning for Sunrise with Kim and Tim starting at 5 a.m. for live coverage of the storm, the damage, and of course now the cleanup.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a good night.